Hello, everybody. Muting the telephone here so we ain't got any disturbances. Hope everybody's doing well today and or tonight, depending on where you're watching from. This is Saturday Night Live with Hobo, but it's 3 p.m. in the afternoon here for me, and I see we got a lot of viewers in both hemispheres, and that's why we're doing this time slot. So I want to welcome everybody that's here, and I'm looking forward to today. I did not set my timer this time. I kind of thought about it, and I said, you know what? I'm just going to go with the flow. The target is a 90-minute deal, and we'll just see what happens. But we got people in here from all over. We got South Africa, hello, and Sharon, Michigan. Let's see here. Oh, and France. And thank you for tuning in, New Zealand. And of course, we're going to have somewhere in here, we got to have an Aussie. Yep, there's an Aussie. We got some local folks here from North Carolina, UK. Hello, Emma. Hey, Emma, I sent you an email asking about the dog steps. Emma had a request about trying to make some dog steps for her little pooches to help get up in the bed, and I was a little hesitant about it. And then I got looking at it and ended up coming up with a modular system I thought that would work. I'm just curious, Emma, did you get that? Did it work? Were you able to make it happen? Drop a comment, let me know. We're going to go over a few things today. Just kind of seeing who all's here and doing the howdies and not going to go down the whole roll call, but I love seeing all the different locations everybody's coming from. And I see several in here from UK and Belgium, which brings up an interesting thing. I like to watch BBC. My preferred news channel is Sky News. I don't even like to watch our local news. I feel like I get more of an honest news report from somebody over there telling me about what's going on here because it's so slanted here. So I enjoy Sky News. I enjoy watching BBC. And one of the most recent things I've started watching is Ghost UK. Now, we have the sitcom Ghost here in the United States, which is a spinoff of the Ghost in the UK. But what I found, I can't understand them. I have to back it up and watch the subtitles because it is so difficult for me to understand what they're saying in that particular sitcom. And I'm curious, how difficult is it for you guys to understand me in the live? By the time the replay comes out, I do have subtitles going in multiple different languages, but just how bad is this hick for you guys to understand? I'm curious. So let's see here. We've got a couple of new files, new designs I've worked on. Let's see here. Looking to see who all's in the house. All right, we're up to 63 viewers. Okay, Emma says you'll have a look. So if you don't see that file anywhere, Emma, let me know. I will resend that out because I sent that out several weeks ago, and just never heard back. So I didn't know what you. You think it's any different on the BBC? I'm sure they're probably slanted, especially when it comes to their local politics and local. But I feel like the people there don't. Well, they might. They probably could have a dog in the fight because there's corruption everywhere, and it can cross the ocean. Corruption is not limited by borders or boundaries. Uh, but I do feel like sometimes I see more of what's going on watching Sky News than is reported here. I'll see things reported in Sky News that you won't hear of for a week or longer in our local news. So anyway, these are the files that I designed this week, and we're going to talk about these. This one is a request. Actually, they're both requests from viewers and patrons. And I did a birth announcement calf that had the ear tag in like you'll see in a cow, and it was numbered 1 month, and you had to change out the tags, and you had to keep up with the tags, and they were a little bit more visible than this, but it was an extra piece to keep up with, and it was more to produce. There was more material involved. So I come up with this concept on the bear to where, and my kickstand come off. How do you like that? Single piece of wood standing up on his edge. So that fits in the back like that and serves as a kickstand. And when not in use, it comes off. And if you put it right, it'll go in storage. And then you lock it up. And hang it on the wall if you wanted to. But what I did, instead of having tags on it anywhere, it's actually got a dial that you can change the months from 1 to 12 months and put the name on there. Now, initially, I had engraved the name on it, but I didn't like how the name was on the surface and the months was elevated. So I said, and I liked the extra dimension of having that raised up on the face of it there. So I decided I was going to do the name the same way. And then I got to looking at it. I said, okay, well, that's great. That's 1 through 12 months. But once they go to a year old, you can pop this off because I just got them on there with hook and loop and change it to where it says year. Stick it on there. And now you can count up from 1 to 12 years. And some of you may have seen different videos and posts where different parents, fathers and their little girls are seen more of this than anything, where they'll do an annual photograph. And it's every year from, either be it on their birthday or whatever day. And they try to pick the same place, same location or whatever, and show that progression from 1 to 12 years old, 1, whatever, but 18, whatever. And I said, well, that'd be kind of neat to do something like that. So you'd have 1 through 12 months, 1 through 12 years. And then it hit the teenage years. And I don't know how you could use that in teenage years. But then I said, well, there's other ways it could be used. I said, okay, well, after you stop using years and they hit grade school age and they start going to school, well, then you could do what grade they're in, 1st through 12th grade. And that'd be their first day of school and or their last day of school. So that's pretty cool. So now there's more ways you can continue to use this. And what might even be kind of fun to see is to see the wear and tear on the bear as the bear is aging just like the child is. Because this is not going to look that great after, several years, but it'd be fun to see that deterioration and the growth. And then I said, well, okay, well, you got months and years, school age. Okay. Well, what else can we do? And then I got to thinking about it. Where I'm from, I don't know if it's something in the water or it's just instilled in the brains, but I'm single and no kids, and I don't date that often because I say I'm looking for a unicorn. And a unicorn to me is something that's very rare and hard to come by. I can't hardly find them. And that's for me here local is someone who managed to get out of high school without kids, and or married and kids, and so or in trouble all the time. And so I said, okay, well, maybe you can use this to where it's the dad can now use it to celebrate or to mark their second arrest. And usually after their second arrest, that will sometimes lead to their third divorce. So the possibilities are endless with this design. But I did a video this week showing how I drew the base teddy bear. Now this thing is 7 layers thick, and we're going to talk about. I did not go over the layers and how it is assembled in the video. We're going to discuss that here in today. But 7 layers, unique design. I like it, and this one was a request. And I'm going to put this back on its kickstand and then grab the stained glass. All right. And I did, these are the same, just different colors. This one, I got this request yesterday in the Facebook group, Hobo with Wood group on Facebook. They posted a similar design like this that asked if anybody had ever seen anything like that or anybody had done it. And I was like, man, I like that. I like that a lot. So much so that I think I'll knock one out. And I did. And this one is just 3 layers. This is all paint. There is no acrylic used in it. 3 layers. The back one's solid board, painted red. Then the white layer. And the white layer, I actually did some demarcation or lines showing where those windows would be. So I knew where to paint those parts of the butterfly. And all of that was painted white with the spray can. And then for the butterfly, I took and used some acrylic paint and a brush and really thinned it out and brushed it on so that you can see the white and it's the streaks from the brushes. So it has a little bit of a translucent look to the butterfly's wings. And then painted the top layer black and then sandwiched it all together. Both of these files are already on hobowithwood.com. I've got that one up there. It's been the bear's been up there for a few days, and it's a half price until tomorrow, I think. This one I put up there. It's like I think it's only like $3.49 if you like that. And I've actually got 2 versions of this. One that's got the a place to put the hooks for like hanging keys on, and the other one doesn't have that at all. It's just got the same border all the way around it. And we'll look at that file too. And I have to be careful handling this one because it's still a little bit damp. Painted in the rain, and that's not the best thing to do. And it's not wanting to dry, and it's tacky. Oh, excuse me. All right, so we're going to look at how these layers, how I went from that single design in the bear to 7 layers to create that. We're going to look at that and then address some other questions, and I'll look at any questions that are in the comments, and we'll just see where today takes us. Let's see here. Just looking at the comments. Instead of Velcro, how about a magnet? Yeah, I thought about that, Jeffrey. It's about being lazy. The Velcro was cheaper, faster, easier. The magnet could work, but there was an issue with the clearance because if I was going to use a magnet, I'd want to have the magnet be two magnets, obviously, or it could be one. You could do glue a piece of metal on the backside, maybe, and if you were using a magnet that was strong enough that that possibly could work. But either way, you'd have to have extra clearance on the backside, and the dial is right up against the face of this, and you'd have to make room for it. You'd have to design into it for the magnet to work. It was more engineering and more complication. And in my early days, I was all about figuring out complicated things and making them work. But now that I'm putting my files out there for sale, I found that the KISS method is the best attitude. KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And I'm going to go over a couple of ideas I've got about people who are struggling with some of the files, CO2 users, about what they can do to make using my files a little more friendly. And Chris said you mentioned magnets as well. I would do magnets more consistent thickness. I don't know how the thickness. Don't follow you there. The magnets would overall maybe be a better design, and if you've got the ability, yeah, absolutely. But I was looking for quick, easy, and something simple that no one would have any struggles with. All right, good. Emma says she found the file. Yeah, let me know how that works out, Emma. Oh, well, and there we go. Yeah, put your first felony in there. I don't know what M&M is, but first felony. Stick on metal tape for one magnet. All right. I'm just looking through these comments before I jump in here and get too far away from everybody. All right. I've made some notes. All right. There are a couple of things about this file that I did not, in fact, I didn't even discuss the file and how to use it. And I don't know how many of you watched the video from just drawing the teddy bear, but I did an entirely different approach on that video. I did not give you step-by-step instructions on what I was doing. I just drew it. In fact, there's music playing throughout the entire time. And I did that for a couple of reasons. One, I've had a lot of people ask me, how long does it actually take you to draw these things or do these things versus just copying and tracing something? Isn't it, so much easier to just trace this or do that? So I want to show it's really not that difficult. And so I did that in real time, showing the mistakes and all. And I think it was done with one movement or one song, and I think it was 10 minutes. And that was with several mistakes, so, and also I just wanted to switch it up a little bit. Most of the folks that have watched it have had some positive feedback. It was enjoyable. But there was one. There's always one. Hey, I don't like it. Well, sorry. Misdemeanor. Okay. All right. Very good. M&M misdemeanor. So the one thing I didn't talk about though, when I did this design, is I used my double D's. Now, guys, let's jump over here to Lightburn and import this file. We're going to bring it in just like it would come from the e-commerce, like always. What is that? That one was Bear Annual and Bear and Open. All right. So there are 4 different toolpaths here. This one has got a bunch of pieces on it, the paws, and This one's got some engraving paw pads, the ears, his belly, some random pieces over here that people are going, hey, what are these for? And then over here, we've got the card with the name and the placards, and then all the double D's. So guys, when you see a bunch of double D's, what are the first thing that come into your mind? When you see double D's, what's the first thing you think about? And then I put down here, set your slots and tabs for your material thickness. There are only a few slots and tabs here for they got to work with the dial, and those are actually should be on a toolpath because those are irrelevant. No, that's right. Those are right. The toolpath is a circle, and then you'll need to set the slot width here for your thickness of your and height of your kickstand. And I've got a note here as well. So, all right. So Chris says, I had no problem following the bear design, but without that video, it would have taken me 3 weeks. Okay. Yeah. V says, hey, remember to like this video. In fact, thank you for that. We'll just put that on here. Like, subscribe, and share. And back to the comments. All right. So Jeffrey says when he sees DD, he thinks date. And V says, don't ask that. Well, and Chris has got it right. And was that Wojo? Dates and digits, DD, double digits, DD, double digits. And it is variable text other than the obvious that a male would see. And Jesse says, yes, double D's equals variable text. And it does not have to be double D's. It can be just a single D. If you're only going to use the 1 through 9, if you're not using double digits, it does not have to be double D's. It can be a single D and variable text still. But if you're going to get past that 9th letter, you're getting into 10, 11, 12, then it needs to be DD, double D's for double digits. And like I said, I didn't go over any of the design itself. And people have gotten the file because, like I said, it's been up since midweek. And they're like, hey, man, how do we get the numbers in there? Well, let's jump back over here to Lightburn. And another thing that was brought up today, people ask, well, I don't like ask me about how I do stuff with my different templates and moving them to the work bed. And if I've got 4 templates here and I need this one on my work bed, I will Control D. I'll duplicate that after selecting the whole thing, then group it, and then send it to my left front corner. There, that stays there. It's not bothered. And then if I need to make any changes or do whatever I can, but if I don't make any changes and I need to go back and do something again, all I got to do is do the same thing. Select it, group it, send it over, and it's going to be in the exact same spot as it was. Even if it was, I've already cut out these other 3, I can just do the same thing. Group that, send it over here, and everything's going to be in the same location. And that's when you're working with a machine like the Rolly, you can have this off the machine and find that there's a problem, put it right back in its cutouts and put it right back in the same position and send a job, and you can go right back over it again. But now with this selected, if you see the double D's up there, with that selected and you go to the preview screen, you don't see the double D's. You see the numbers. In the preview screen, Lightburn will show you what the variable text is going to look like. So that's what the DDs are about. And when you're building this file, you've got the very back piece, which is this piece here. And like I said, you'll need to set your slots and tab height for your material so that the kickstand will fit in here properly. And I always leave my tabs that I'm going to be inserting on the kickstand like this just a little bit shy of the actual material thickness, so that I don't have to worry about it wanting to try and protrude and come through and then hitting the next layer and not fit very well. But I've also got in here these little holes that go around here, and those are where I had predetermined locations for my tabs that swing in place and lock it in place, and that's for my hanger. And on the website where I sell the file, I also listed the hardware that I use that would work with these holes as well. Unless, and this has happened a few times recently, Amazon is horrible about changing either the item or what populates. You might click on an item that I've got in there that says it's for the, I'll say, I don't know, the triple X or the 3X triple thick coating. You click on it, and next thing you know, it's showing you gold glitter. And that's not my screw up. Just Amazon will change the tagging of that product. And so when that happens, let me know and I can update it again. But if you find that you ordered something and it's not what I described it as, well, that's because Amazon changed it up on us. So set your slots and tabs for your kickstand on your bear. That's your first layer. Then the second layer is this bear over here. And I've got these on a blue layer. And if you look over here, it's in an offset fill. And when we look at the actual settings, I've got it at 35 lines per inch. And your speed and power is going to be dependent on your laser. But I'm doing an offset fill with 35 lines per inch. And what that produces is group that and send. It's already grouped. Send it over here. Now do preview. That produces that output. And I kind of liked the way that the offset fill did this area here on the bear's chest. It almost looks like a V-neck from like he's wearing a vest or something. But I was like, oh, that's kind of a cool effect. And most of this is hidden by the announcement and the name and the dial and all that. But you can see this part of the V, and you can see this part of his lower belly down here. And then the paw pads are done with the same offset fill. And so are the ears. And I did that also because I'm lazy. I initially, I painted it. This part was painted white, and then this is white, and then the ears I did black. So it's the same piece of wood. So spray painted all this white, and then had to let that dry and then cover it and mask it and painted those black and then try and keep the overspray off. And I'm like, 2 steps on one piece of wood. I'm like, nah. So I did the offset fill, which was very fast to do, even though you see probably 90% of it or more is covered up. But that offset fill is so fast, and the effect of it was really, really cool. Like I said, that little vest there in the front, I like that look. It breaks it up. So that's the reason for the offset fill. And go back here. So there are the back layer. This is the second layer. This one is the third layer. Then in order to make room for the name plaque and the dial and all the mechanism to make, that allows it all to turn, it needs to be spaced up. There's a hole here, this is notched out. So it's whatever the thickness of your material is already got that much of a recess, but you needed another recess or another space for the back of the spacer that holds the dial together, then another spacer for the actual dial itself. And that's what those are for. These pieces, if I ungroup this when I cut those out, that's going to glue up right there, properly aligned. This one would glue up right here. And there's two more down here. And those, all four of those just get stacked in place right there. And that serves no other purpose but to space that up and allow room for this. Once it's cut out, there's the paw print, there's the paw print there. Those will sit right on top of there. And it all is seamless. And you've got the extra void you need for the turning mechanism and the dial. And it all works. These pieces down here, one button goes on the very back side of the dial. These interlock with each other, forming the X that goes in here. And this is a finished, unopened piece that glues on top just to make it a nice finished piece for the center of the dial. Now, when you do, and if you've ever gotten my files, I try to think of as many possibilities that you're going to run into. Ain't think of everything, but try to think of anything that might be a roadblock. And if you look at those crosses in those dials, you might say, well, why did you not just weld those together and just cut out the cross? If you do that, you can no longer change the size or the width of those slots. By leaving them as individual pieces, when you go into resize slots and selection, and I'm just going to, in fact, what I'll do is I'm going to grab, it's all grouped together. In fact, let's do this. We'll say Control D, duplicate it, and bring it over here and ungroup everything. Now I'm going to select these two right here and weld them together. And it's going to produce the exact same thing. And I'm going to leave these as they are. And now I'm going to select these and I'm going to go into resize slots and selection. And old material thickness is 3 millimeters, not 30, 3 millimeters. And we're going to change the slot width and we're going to tell it to go to 4.5 millimeters. Well, if we look here, it's wanting to make those wider, which it needs to. And here it's going to make this one go out and out. And then over here, these two lines are going out and out. Those are going to do exactly what we need it to. But if you look up here, this one's doing nothing because Lightburn no longer recognizes that as a slot or a tab. Neither one. It just sees it as a cross. And by doing that, it's no longer customizable. It is a set fixed shape. So if you are designing stuff like this, that's something else that you need to be aware of and keep in mind when you're doing that. Let's see what else about this file. I think that's pretty much it on that one. Now I'm going to come back over here and try and get caught up on the comments and questions. Let's see. Hey. Well, you know what? Let's see. Okay. Dates and digits, double digits. DD is because single D is for digits. DD is when you're using 2 digits. All right. Now back to I'm caught up where people were commenting. Yes, Jesse had it right. Double D is variable text. Okay. Variable text is probably the least understood function usually for production work. Yeah, Chris, because it has so many different ways it can be used in Lightburn. It's not used just for numerals. You can use it with CSV files, and you know all this, I'm sure. But you can bring in a whole, say if you want to do something for a teacher and all of her class, all of her students. If you wanted to make a custom piece for each individual student, if that teacher was able to provide you with a CSV file. And for those that aren't aware, CSV is comma separated value. And generally an Excel file can be or is saved in an XS or a CSV file, comma separated value. And if you have a CSV file with 50 names on it, you can go in and set up the variable text so that, and then assign that CSV file to that particular line. And whenever you hit the start button, and if it was done in, say you were engraving pencils and you wanted to do 24 pencils and each one of them was just going to have the name of, each one was a separate kid's name. Well, you could do that so that once it engraved the first one, Lightburn knows to look for the next name in the list and engraves that name, looks for the next name, engraves that name. So variable text is a very helpful tool in production work. I have used it. I have not used it extensively, but I have used it in just about every possible way that it can be used. Hello. I think hello from somewhere. So I don't know where, but hello. And thank you for joining us. Jeff, it's still a family show. Because, and PG is still, and somebody made a comment in YouTube about my Valentine's dice that I made. It was still PG because there was nothing R-rated even about it. But they didn't think that it was PG. I'm like, okay, take the stick out your butt. It's definitely still PG. Let's see here. And Matthew, you're most welcome. Matthew is the one that posted the image of something similar to the butterfly design there. And I was like, oh, I like that. And just a few hours later, there it is. So thank you for suggesting that and requesting that. And if you don't have that file yet, Matthew, if you're a gold patron, it's already on the website. You can download it. If you're not a gold patron, don't go buy it because you inspired it. I'll send it to you. V says, I designed my first file today. I saw a B round and said, I can make that. I did. It took a few hours and a few cuss words, but I did it. Well, congratulations. You know what? And I admire you for doing that. And that I think that has more value to me to when I created it. I did it. I worked it out. Yeah, I struggled, but I got through those hurdles. You have more pride in that finished piece. At least I do. Note edit into 2 sections. Fill to shave off time. Not sure where where you're talking about, Chris, in the offset fill, maybe. Because I could have done away with a lot of that, but it's offset so it feels so fast. I wasn't worried about it, but I'm not sure where you're talking about saving time at. Thank you, V. Thank you. And Jeffrey is one of the ones who contacted me today about what those side pieces were and what they were for. But you would have figured it out. You would have figured it out because they're like little puzzle pieces. I mean, they align perfectly with the upper and lower paw. And when you went to try and put the dial and stuff together, and then whenever it won't clear without it. If you would have gone through the actually cut everything out, it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. You've got all the pieces. There's 500 pieces, and there's a place for all 500 pieces, or else they wouldn't be in the box. So when you start assembling it, that don't go there. But that won't work at all. Well, that dial will not work without those other pieces. And then you would have seen the need for them. You would have figured it out. If you're using lasers and Lightburn, if you had all those pieces laid out there, you'd have figured out how to put them together. I got confidence in you. Let's see here. Do you have a simple technique for creating the spacer between the layers? Are you talking about those little side pieces there? How did I do that? I just did it with node editing. And maybe that's what Chris. No, because that was Chris made that comment before. Yeah, I'll show you what I did, how I created those. Chris asked, any reason you didn't just stack and glue the glue disc for wheel? Any reason you didn't just stack and glue disc for wheel? Not sure I follow you there either, Chris. I'm having a hard time following you today, my brother. And like I said, there is always more than one way to do anything in Lightburn. And a lot of times, whenever I'm figuring out these designs, I'm doing it on the fly. And I'm like, okay, how can I do this? And I'm always trying to think of the simplest way to do it, but not always. What's simple for me may not be simple for others. It's like someone emailed me and asked me about or maybe it was in the comments on YouTube. They were like, how in the world did you look at this bear? And if you haven't watched the video, you should watch it. This entire image was done using nothing but the elliptical tool, the ellipse tool in Lightburn. It was just a whole bunch of circles. Everything was circles. The smile was a circle. This was a circle. Everything was done with the ellipse tool. There was no other tool used in other than the Boolean tools, but no other shapes were used to draw this entire thing out, except for the card. But the bear itself, to create the bear, it's all circles. And they commented just like, there's no way they would have seen that, just the basic shapes to design this. And my reply was, that's all I see. When I look at, be it the bear or I look at that picture frame, I see the basic shapes that were used combined in a way to create it. You take someone with a very analytical mind and they look at things, they may look at it and go, okay, now, so they would have had to use the trigonometry to do this, to figure out this angle and that, and how to get this aligned. They see it in a very analytical way. It's a difference in right brain and left brain, how people think and see things. It's not something that I think can be taught. I think it's how you're hardwired. Because they were like, hey, can you teach me that? And honestly, I don't think you can. I think you either see it or you don't see it. And one of my visits to Disney, they were teaching youngins and anybody else that wanted to learn how to draw different Disney characters, how to draw them. And the very basic skeletal or the shapes of most of those characters, they start out with primitives. They'll draw a circle here, a circle, circles, and they do it with a bunch of primitives and erasing lines and changing things. And then they'll start adding details. But when you watch some of those how-tos, they start with primitives. So it's something that may, and I've not had any art class. I've not had any trainings. It's just the way that I see things. And I would do well in an art class because that's how I perceive and see them. I don't know. But yeah, Chris, that's as far as why I did them this way. It's just how it came together in my brain. And that can be a scary place. Okay. Did I miss where the text file? Did I miss where is the text file that the DD is drawn from? Okay, no, there is. All right, I go back over. We'll go to Lightburn. When you're setting up variable text, let's see here. I'm going to create or try and recreate that and put in my double D's. And I'm going to align it to the center. And then I'm going to bring it up just a wee, not that much. about there. And then I'm going to do a circular array. And did I do circular array? No, I did grid array. Let's do circular array. And we only want 12 copies, starting at 0, ending at 360. And that gives us the placement of a clock face. And say, okay. And now, let's see. Go back to that. I didn't want to go back. Let's go undo. Because there was a button in there I didn't show you. Undo. All right. Circular array. All right. Auto increment variable text is turned on, and we're going to auto increment by 1. And say, okay. And then up here, if I leave this as normal, and I bring, let's see, this is my work bed. Undo. Dadgummit. If I leave those as normal and I bring this down here, and if I've got that selected and I go to preview, you don't see anything because there's nothing on the work table. So that's why I was cleaning all that off. Now, if I bring this down to my work table and now go into preview, you see all the double D's. But if I come up here, select those, and we go up here and we change this from normal to serial number. This normal, date and time, merge, CSV, serial number, and cut setting. These are all the different settings you'll use in variable text. And I'm going to use number. And now preview. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there's where there was no, so did I miss where the text file came from? There is no text file because this is numbers. There's no text or no CSV files that needed to be brought in because we're doing a serial number with an auto increment of 1. So it will begin at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, if we were to change this offset right here, like right now, you see 1 through 12. And let's go back and offset by 2 and preview. Well, that just gave me a bunch of 2s. I need to set it up from the beginning that way. Let's go, well, you know what? I will select all these. Delete them. Now do that array again. Circular array. No, come on, dummy. That and circular array. Auto increment. And we're going to do auto increment by 2 here. And say, okay. And we're going to do an offset of 1. And let's see what happens. Preview. Now, preview. I've got my order out of array. My brain is scrambled right now. So now what I would do if I'm sitting here in the shop trying to figure this out, I'm going to come up here to window. No, I'm going to come over to help. And I'm going to come right here to PDF. Online documentation. Online documentation. And then that's going to open up a new window. And then I can come right here and search the variable text formats. And there's all the different types of variable. Like I said, you have a D, and you got double Ds, you have triple Ds, and you got quadruple Ds. But here's all the different ways and formats and how you would use it. And here's your instructions on how to set all up. Here's how you set up your CSVs and import your CSV information. So all that help is right there at the push of a button. And like I said, I've used it all, but I've not used it all enough to be absolutely fluent in it. But you can actually set this up so it will increment in 2s, be 2, 4, instead of 1 through 12, be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so on and so forth. All right, so hopefully that answered your question. There was no text file. It's just variable text. And you set up the parameters and it'll come in it'll generate however you set the parameters up. Man, I'm an old man with a master's and never heard of variable text or DD. Learning stuff hurts now. Well, don't strain your brain. Don't strain your brain. Okay, Matthew, you're gold, so you get it for free. It's on the website. You can download it anytime. And I was hoping Russ was going to be here today, but I don't see Russ. He might be having to work because I was going to share something with you guys that he's made and help give him the positive feedback. In fact, we'll do that even though he's not here because I know he'll watch the replay. Let's see here. I'm so excited. My Lasermatic 2 is coming the 14th right now. I have a 5.5. Girl, you ain't going to know what to do. You're going from the 5.5 watt to the Lasermatic. You are going from, and I don't know where you're at, but if you can relate, you're going from a Ford Pinto to a Lamborghini. And the Pinto was a dependable car as long as you didn't get hit in the rear end and explode. But, it was just good for what it was, a decent little piece of transportation. But now you go into a Ferrari, and it is going to rock your world with your ability to create stuff. All right. Let's see. Trying to look at any questions. And okay, Chris says, rather than to the cross pieces to turn the wheel with digits, and yes, for the stomach, not feel everyone's laser. Not everyone's laser is as fast as mine, but an offset fill is really fast, especially only 35 lines per inch. Offset fills, that's really the only reason I like to use an offset fill, especially if you're doing a perimeter of something, a perimeter engrave. Even if you're going to do 0.1 line per inch and really do a solid engrave, that offset fill makes really fast work of it because it's just doing the perimeter, as you know. So offset fills don't typically take too long. Just trying to get caught up before I move on. Question mark. I see question mark. And as Denny did here, where he put the question marks in front of his question, that's what I'm looking for, guys, to help me identify it's actually a question. So if you get in the habit of doing that when you're on Hobo with Wood, it'll jump out at me quicker. Can you make it start off with what? Yes, you can. And it's all in the parameters. In fact, if you look, let's see here. In fact, I think I ain't sure, but let's put this over here. Preview. Nope, that one didn't either. But yes, you can set it up so it actually does orient the one over here where the two's at. And it has to do with where you set your offset. And I wished the wrong way. There we go. I wish, Denny, that I could show you that example real fast, but it has temporarily left the brain. I've got lots of videos on designing clock faces, and I've used the variable text in my videos in designing clock faces. So there's evidence on YouTube that I know how to do it, and I have done it. It's just gone right now. It's on vacation. So look for in the playlist of clocks and clock faces, and it'll show you that, or just use that online documentation. It's not difficult. But I apologize to you sincerely that it's not readily available for me to pull up right now. It's just gone. It might show up in 30 seconds and I go, oh, yeah, here's how to do it. But right now it's not here. Question mark. If you were doing grades, how would you pick pre-K and K? Well, I wouldn't worry about the pre-Ks if I was doing grades. I wouldn't worry about grades until I was first grade through kindergarten. There, I would just stick with the years, because if I was using it, but you can you could change it up, make the dials custom, have custom dials. You wouldn't be able to. Well, you could actually, if you wanted to get really crazy with this, you could take and set it up so that you could have interchangeable dials back there. And where here, I've got this glued together. You could make it attachable with magnets, so it's detachable. So you can pop that out and change your wheels and have different sayings, different meanings, to do whatever. But again, I'm just trying to keep it simple, stupid. Put my months back on there. Oh, all right. You don't have to be fluent in anything. It's the knowledge of passing it on. I've never heard of variable text for Lightburn. Yeah, well, I use it. It's just right now. It's just. Hey, Patrick, my brain is short circuiting today. I don't know if it's the weather or what, but we're getting through it. Hope all is well with you, and curious to hear back from you on what your thoughts were on if you got the chance to test the high speed engraving with the bamboo and what you thought about the outcome. Looking for question marks, and guys, and like here, Jonathan's making a statement. I don't know if is there any questions. I know the feeling. I just went from a 5-watt atom stack upgraded. It's supposed to be 10-watt. Now I'm have the Lasermatic 3010. Just got it yesterday, and I've been running tests all day. Yeah, it is a huge step from a 5-watt or 5.5-watt to the Rolly. I don't want to miss anybody's question. So if you've seen in the comments that I've already passed your question and haven't addressed it, then do like Jeff did here. Put those question marks in front of it, because that's what I look for. And if I don't see those, then I might scan right past it. When I see a long comment, like Jonathan had, I will look at those and see if there's any questions in there. All right, Jeff says for the pre-K, you could cut an insert that covers the window where the numbers show, and you have your pre-K display for that. Yeah. See, there's always more than one way. There's always another way. All right. Question mark. Use the CSV file option for variable text with letters like pre-K and grade numbers. Yeah, and I don't know. Yes, you could, and I'm trying to envision what you guys are trying to, because like I said, I don't got kids. I ain't have deal kids. I don't know nothing about preschool, pre-K, all that stuff. So I don't know any of the abbreviations. Don't know how or what you would want to see. So I setting that up is completely foreign to me. Questions. I did it was risen cross on my 5.5 the other day, and it stopped because it was not burning deep enough. So I went and put 2.5 millimeter piece of wood on the lace bed, and it started skipping. Could that be what? Oh, Lightburn. Could that be Lightburn? Typically not. Usually that's more of a hardware or a software, not a software, a connection issue. Could be either, I don't know, USB, but if it's skipping and it's not just stopped, I honestly don't know, long hair miss, why it's doing that. I've not run into that situation. It could be that if you were trying to do that cross, because that's a lot of burning, You could have overheated the module. Now it was starting to get too hot. I don't know. I doubt you're going to have that problem anymore once you get your Rolly set up, so you can chalk that experience up to just it's done. We don't have to go that way again. It jumped into a different position. Yeah, I would say that. Oh, you know what, guys? I'm gonna have to ask you to hold on a second because there's a brown truck sitting out here that I've been waiting on, and I'm going to talk to you about what he's bringing me too. So let me go greet him at the door so he doesn't think I'm not here. I hate to leave you here, but I'll be right back. Gotta get these. Okay, I'm coming. I'm coming. Oh. Okay, sorry about that, but that was crucial that I got those today. All right. Woo. What's Patrick doing? Self promo, you folks, with the Lasermatic. I released a video. Yes, he did. And Patrick, you are welcome to promote that. And I was going to promote that. I shouldn't run that fast. I'm too fat and too old. I was going to promote that video as well. But Patrick used the Rolly to do annealing or marking on a stainless steel knife without using any type of marking inks or spray paints or zinc oxides or anything. He just put the knife down there and annealed it, marked it, and it works. And it's a great result. It's not my personal choice of doing stainless steel with a diode because I'm impatient. I don't have the patience it takes. And with the Rolly, it's really not that bad because with the 30 watt, it did it pretty quick. I forget what that total time was, Patrick. But I can't. I watched it and I don't remember what your speeds were. I'm about to catch my breath again, but I like using the Brilliance laser marking inks. They're not marketed to diode users, but it works, and it works faster than the annealing process. Okay, about to get my breath. But there are folks that do not want to spend $50 on a can of spray. They don't want to spend, and that's for the Brilliance. The Ceramark is pushing $100 a can. So if you're not as impatient as I am, and you don't have the budget to spend on a 50 can of spray or $100 can of spray, then it is possible to anneal with this, and you should go over to Patrick's channel and check that out. I don't think Patrick, you have the ability to drop links in here, but let's see here. Subscriptions. I really don't need to be moving like that, folks. I'm sorry, but I had to get those. I had to have those. Where is Patrick? Where is Patrick? Patrick. There's Patrick. And where is that annealing? I wanted to drop there. Is that it? Yep, that's it. All right, now grab that and share, copy. And now I'll come back over here to you guys and drop that There you go. There's a link to Patrick's video for if you, some of you guys watching may not be familiar with Patrick's channel, but he does a lot of stuff that kind of overlaps with what I do, but he also does some really neat things that I don't even venture into. So uh, I put a link in there, Patrick. Hopefully that'll send some viewers in that direction. All right. Back to, let's see. I had to go back and backtracking now to look for question marks. Sorry about that. Got all off track with that delivery. Brother, I've already had probably 8 or 9, so one more might kill me. I've already had more than my share. All right. So what I had to go stop and get, we're going to squirrel. What I had to go grab. You know, I've been talking about those guys right there right there for the past several weeks, and I don't have those there just for sheer partaking or for libations. Those are there for a job, and I did a project with someone you might know or heard of. Let's switch. So these are Revenuers Reserve Flask. This is on JohnSchneiderStudios.com. This particular moonshine, Revenuers Reserve Moonshine, is his personal moonshine. He has 3 different flavors. He has the original, then he has apple pie and blackberry. And I approached him with the idea of doing these flasks so that people could have a really nice flask instead of having to, if you're going to go to the ball game, you're not going to try and sneak this in, but you might try to sneak in your flask. And when you're dealing with extremely high proof alcohol, and I think the higher the proof it is, the more problematic it can be. Even some of your best stainless steel can begin to affect the flavors of the alcohol. So I prefer a glass flask. And so I hit him up with this idea and said, "Hey, let's make some custom flasks just for yours." And he said, "Okay." He's wasn't sure about it, so I sent him 20 of them, and he posted it on Facebook and got it up on his store. And as soon as he posted it on Facebook that they were available, they sold out. He said it sold out faster than any other item that they've ever put in the store, and we are replenishing that inventory. And that's what I had delivered today, was more of the flask that will be engraved for John Schneider, and you'll be able to get those from his John Schneider Studio store. You can't get the moonshine there, but you can get it online, and they will. I don't know if they'll ship international. They might, but they'll ship pretty much anywhere in the U.S. But I'll be doing a video on leather engraving this week. I might even do it live. I'll probably do a pop-up live sometime this week where I've set up a custom. I actually had to make this jig to go in the rolly because the honeycomb bed sits too high and the jig table would sit too high, but the bed of the rolly works, but there's nothing there to align it. So I made a jig that fits into the pins for the rotary. So now I can just drop my jig in there, place my flask in there, and just go to town. Button, hit a 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 button, and engrave, engrave, engrave. All right. So we talked about the bear. We talked about variable text. Now I want to address something that a few people have been having an issue with my files, and I get emails from, hey man, this file is messed up. The text is upside down. This is turned around. This is backward. I'm like, all right. First, what machine are you using, and what's your home position on your laser? And there are different things that I can do with my files to try and help you as the end user minimize some of those headaches of trying to bring my file into your laser. But I cannot come up with every possible solution without having to just quadruple my workload. I could do it now if I was only making my files for folks using Lightburn and only for Lightburn, then I could share, instead of right now I'm sharing the Lightburn file, an SVG, an AI, and a DXF. I could add the library art file, just an art file, not because the art file is not the same as the design file. So I could design, or I could save it as an art file, and then you could import it into your art library and then bring it in from there. And that would stop a lot of the problems. But there's only this many people that are having a problem. So this is what I came up with as a possible solution for people using CO2 lasers, because CO2s are almost always got a back left home position, where this is a front left home position. And those home positions will, when you import a file that's saved from here into one with the CO2, will sometimes bring the file in upside down and maybe possibly even inverted. And it's really just a simple select it all, rotate it, mirror it, and it's done. Usually. But then some of the Xtool users have been having issues, and then the Xtool CO2 users are having issues. So this is what I thought would help those who are having that problem. Lightburn now has in its selection of laser setups the option of no machine. So let's jump over here to Lightburn again. Go to Lightburn. Sorry, that's Lightburn. Go to new, file, new. No, I don't need to save nothing. And I think I was done with the bear, I think. But in your devices, here are the devices I currently have set up. But right down here, I have no machine. And what I propose to all of the CO2 users out there, and this might help you not only with my files, because my files are not going to be the only ones that are doing this. If you're a CO2 user only and you use Lightburn, if you're buying files that were designed on a diode with a different home position, then you may be getting those that are that are inverted upside down, and I've even seen some cases where only part of it was, only the text was messed up. And then it was not as simple as just doing the rotate and mirror, because only half of the file was messed up. I was still able to select it and move it into the right position. It was able to piece back together. Not easy, but doable. So what I propose is for all of the CO2 users out there, go into Lightburn and set up no machine. When you're going to be importing a file that is problematic for you and your CO2, set up no machine, switch over to that device, then import that file, either open it up as the Lightburn file, open it up as, or import it as the SVG or whatever. And then once you've got it opened up in Lightburn in the no machine, select that entire image, save it in your library. You can even have a temporary folder that's just a work in progress folder. So select that image, save it in your work in progress in your art library, then close that all out, switch your devices over to your CO2, then open that Lightburn art into your CO2, and it should open without any problems. So that might help you with my files and all the other files you're buying elsewhere if you're using a CO2 or a laser that has a different home position. And I don't have to go in and do all of my files for that small percentage of people that are having a problem. So, and I have not tried this, but it makes sense that it'll work. So let me know what your thoughts are. If you do this, if it definitely solves all your problems, let me know. All right. Chuck says, have you checked on the Omtech spray? I don't know Omtech spray, but the Brilliance is $49 a can, and I've got a savings coupon for people. It's on my website and my shop supply stuff. And the Brilliance works. It works really, really well. It's a whole lot less money than the Ceramark. I don't know about the Omtech, or is that Omtech or Omtech, like the laser? There you go, Big Papa. Big Papa says track heart attacks on the bear counter. And that's sad to say, but before my heart surgery, I could have done that. I had a quintuple bypass, and I haven't had any heart attacks since the bypass. I'm not sure what I said about. I'm going to get the enlarged one when it is available. I'm looking forward to that bigger work bed. Question: I thought Jason said that was fixed. All you had to do was make sure you had the device selected before opening file. Chris, I still get emails every single day with people having problems, so it's not fixed. Sorry, didn't mean to click that when it moved on me. Yeah. I still get that problem with files that I've made in my CO2 profile and open it with a diode. Yeah, it's not resolved, Chris. They may have gotten some of it worked out, because, like I said, sometimes the whole file is upside down and backward and mirrored, and then sometimes it's only the text. So there are some changes that have been made, but it's not fixed 100%. Okay, and then Chris says, yeah, maybe he's talking about 1.6. Hopefully, 1.6 is in beta. I heard Clack say the other day he's actually working in 1.6 now. So I'm working in 1.5.01. I have not upgraded the O2 yet, because I'm waiting for 1.6 to come out before I'm update again. All right, now there was a question in YouTube, in the YouTube comments. Someone asked me about, where do you get the cheap coated aluminum cups for practicing? I don't know. I have no idea. I've not used them, but I don't recommend using them, because if you're looking for just something that you're going to use just to practice on, and you're not going to be using that cup for a finished product, then you're going to learn some things, but you're not going to learn what you really need to know for the actual product that you're going to be using for your end product. Like Clack also preaches, when you buy a new product and you're learning how to use that, then you need to buy one or two extras that you just plan on wasting. It is going to be just for test materials. And if you get, when you're first starting out and you're trying to learn those settings and the speeds and the powers, you might need to get 3 or 4 for test pieces. But you need to test on the product that you're going to be using. And because it won't be 100% wasted time, but there'll be a lot of wasted time learning how to do these and you get a great result, but then that's not what you're going to be using for your end piece. So I don't know that I would do that. Jason says, John needs to give you a mention for the Revenue was Reserved Flask on his site. He actually, this isn't the first thing I've done with him. I've done a lot of stuff for him. In fact, I don't know if Patrick's still here or not, but Patrick did. I had designed a lighted mirror, and it was just before going to Lightburn Experience, and I needed to get this mirror done. Is a memorial mirror for John, but I also needed to get a purse made. I was making a purse for Patrick's wife, and I didn't have time to get them both done. And I was like, "Hey, Patrick, do me a favor. I'll knock out this purse and get this thing done and ready if you will knock out the mirror." And so Patrick actually laser engraved the mirror for me that I took to or gave to John. But he's like, "Yeah," he said, and I've done quite a few things. He said, "I'll," and he's talking about on his Facebook. He said, "I'll mention you. I'll do a shout out for you." I said, "Nah." So I'm not looking for that type of recognition. And the only reason I'm even bringing this up now, the Flask up now, is not for my own self glorification, but I want to promote the Flask and promote the sales and drive you guys. If you enjoy a nice Flask and you want to partake of the moonshine, they're out there. They're available. There'll be more available. I'm trying to drive sales to his store. It's not about the glory for me. It's about the sales for me. I could care less about the recognition. If you go to his right now, they're all sold out. I'm going to be getting these to him hopefully before the end of the week. I don't want to do any expedited shipping, but hopefully they'll be back in the store within a week, hopefully. And he's offering them with an autograph or without an autograph. So, all right. So we've done the no machine. We talked about that. We talked about the variable text and the cheap classes. All right. Now we still got we're coming up on 90 minutes, but we're still 102 of you still here. Do you? Let's see. How about instead of because you know what I said I would show how I did those little side pieces for the bear. So let's do that. And then maybe we'll look at the 3-layer piece. All right. So I said I was through with the bear, but I'm not through with the bear. File recent bear. Okay. So I needed to have, Control D, duplicate that. It's grouped, send it to the bottom. I needed to have a spacer that would, and I take up those side spaces there just to space up. I don't need, let's see, we can ungroup all of this. So I can select that entire offset fill and hit the delete button. I didn't delete. Oh, you know why? Because it's got all that up there. I don't want to get rid of all of that. I'm glad it didn't delete. We'll just do it individually. Delete, delete, delete. Actually, you know what? I did need that. Come on, stupid. Get with the program. Delete, delete. And delete. Well, that's all right. I don't need any of those anyway. But I did need this, and we're going to put it, though, on a different layer. So what I can do, and how many ways are there to do something in Lightburn? There's only one way, right? No, you can do it 100 different ways. If I were to take and draw a rectangle around here, and I'm going to bring this into, come on. Is it going to let me? Yeah, right there. Bring it into that corner there. And I'm going to bring this one down. I just said it was. Not going to let me. about there, then I could make sure that this bear is grouped with this inner piece. And because I'm getting ready to cut it, and if I read this, I want to come on down, because even though it's a spacer, you're going to see this on the edge, so I get the whole thing. I'm going to duplicate this bear and that inner offset. I'm going to duplicate it and then hold my shift key and select that piece there and move it over here to where I can now see just those. And now you can use your Boolean tools and look and see. Oh, there you go. That's the piece you need for a spacer. That's the intersection of A and B. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. And actually, you probably could have made the rectangle large enough to encompass both of them and created that piece. But someone asked earlier, well, how did you create the spacer? Well, it was that easy. You could go into node editing and break them apart and then draw lines. And well, there are numerous ways to do it, but that's one of the easiest, simplest ways to do it. I opened the same file with the CO2 gantry active and the orientation was correct. Which file did you open, Patrick? Is it one of the files you created on the diode and then you opened it on the CO2? And like I said, it's not every time. It's not every file and it's not every user. And I think, and guys, I really do try not to be super negative. I try not to be, but it's difficult sometimes. But I think the majority of the people that struggle are the people with the X tools. Because the X tool, I think they do it on purpose. They try and make everything about that machine proprietary. They want you staying in with the XCS. They want you using their information. They want you buying their supplies. So I think most of the people struggling are the X tool users. Oh, look at the previous comment before that one. In 1.6, I just opened the diode file with my fiber active and the origin was correct. Okay, no. Okay. And like I said, and it may be the majority of the X tool users are having the problem with it. I don't know. All right. So y'all still here. We're 90 minutes in. So I'll do y'all tell me, do you want to look at how you put together a 3-layer piece like this, or do you want to wrap it up? Have you got somebody calling you to go eat? You got a drink calling your name? Because I know right now for you folks over there in UK, it's getting, what is it? Well, 9:30, 10 o'clock. Is it getting close to your bedtime? Sogan Rays, you're in Florida. Brandon says go for it. All right. Well, I can promise you this. It ain't going to be another 5-hour live stream. We ain't doing that. Ralph says, yes, let's do the 3-layer. All right. So they're really, really simple. They are so simple that you're going to go, really? That's all there is to it? Yep. Really. That's all there is to it. So if you think of it, when you look at an image, in fact, let's let me find this and this and go here. And I know you can't see this, but I'm getting to the right place to where I want to share it with you. And now I'll share it. So this is in the Facebook the Hobo with Wood group. And this is the post that Matt posted. He said, "Hey, has anyone ever made anything like these? Or maybe Hobo can use this for an idea." And he did the light. It shows the lighthouse, this horse, and then the butterfly. And the butterfly is the one that jumped out at me. I was like, okay, I like that design. The horse was all right, but I can see it having a very limited market. And there were a few things about just the general art of this one I didn't care for. And so I was like, okay, I'm not going to go with that. But I think I can work with this. And I did a little different. Here, they've got an open back. And you can see the background. You can see the wood, through it. So there, whatever the color of the wall is what you would see as your back piece. And I wanted to go with a solid back instead. And theirs is only 3 layers as well. They've got the white layer, then they've got the natural wood layer, and then they've got the stained layer. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it with a solid back instead of this. Hey, Clack's in the house. What is up, Clack? All right. So that's the inspiration. The inspiration was from this design that Matt asked about, and he posted that yesterday at 12:01. And then I think it was about, let's see. Can I see? Nope, I can't see when I posted it. But it was just a matter of a couple hours later. I said, yep, I've already done it. I'm already working on it. And thanks for the inspiration. So what I did was butterfly. I call this one butterfly glass. And this is the file that you would get from the website. And there's 2 different versions that I have on here. This is the larger version that I have behind me with the lower area for mounting the hooks on to where you can do like a key holder. And this one doesn't have that extra area, and it's just like a stained glass window. So the first thing I had to do was determine what shape I wanted to have this file in. And my shape was going to be that stained glass window look. And that was not difficult to generate at all. And that served as the base, literally the base. And to do that, I drew out a rectangle, selector tool, convert it to a path, show my nodes, insert a middle node. So I've got it right in the middle. And then over here, I did another middle node. And I think I actually did it 2 more times. So I knew right there. Yeah, I think that's what I did. So I wanted to have my arch begin here and come to here. And this is a little bit wide for the overall look that I want. So I'll probably shrink it down a little bit, about like that. Go back to my node editing. Then I deleted that one, undo, select that, and hit the letter D. Anytime you're in node editing, do not hit the delete button, because if you hit the delete button, you'll delete the entire thing. But if you hit the letter D, it will delete the selected node. And I actually want to get rid of those 2 there too. Then I said, okay, that's kind of the basic height that I want. I need to create my arch. Then I just grab that line and just start drawing it out to where I want it. Then I come down here and hit a middle node. So now that's the middle, that's the middle. Now I'm going to come to this node and hit the letter B for break. And do the same thing down here. Select it and hit B for break. Now, in fact, if you go back there, we go back to node editing. You see there are multiple origin nodes. The green lines, that's the origin or the starting position. Well, now there are multiple starting nodes or origin nodes because I broke it all apart. So if I select just that, now I can hit the delete button and delete that. I've got 1/2 of that window. I'm going to duplicate it, Control D, duplicate it, and mirror it. and then move it over here to where it needs to be. There we go. Go into node editing and pop that right there. Now that's joined. And if I go back to my selector tool, it shows me down here that's one object. Now, why did I do that? Why did I create an arch over here and divide that in half? And all about symmetry. That was the fastest and easiest way that I could see to think of to make sure that both halves of that window were perfectly symmetrical. The arch on the either side was curved exactly the same. Now, why is that important? When you're dealing with layered pieces, if the right arch is off by 1.5 millimeters compared to the left arch, you might not notice it with the naked eye, but the minute you start putting them together, they're not going to line up just right. They're going to want to be a little cattywampus, as I like to say. So by making sure they're perfectly symmetrical, then you don't have to worry about what was the top piece when you cut it out. Because if you cut these things out and then you go into the paint room, and if you've handled them, you're like, which way is up? You could actually paint the wrong side, and then when you go to glue it up, it's not going to line up perfectly. So keeping the symmetry perfect on a layered piece, and if you start with a perfectly symmetrical piece, then the rest of it's going to be okay, because you're only designing this one piece one time. That's going to serve as the outer boundary and the base on all of them. So that's done. So now that I've got that, how much of a out or a border do I want around my window? I went with 5 millimeters, so I just did an inward offset of 5 millimeters. I do not want to delete my original, and I do want to use corners, and I want to do, oh, not outward. I want to do inward. There we go. Inward. Why is it not showing me? 5. What's going on here, people? Is it not closed? Yeah, okay. So it did not want to show me an inward offset. And if you look right here, when I selected it, it's giving me the option to close path. So since the option to close the path is there, then this is still an open shape. So I'm going to say close path, and it's still not closing. And I've ran into this a few times, and there's a few different ways you can address it. There should be only one node origin node, and your ants should all be traveling in the same direction. If you look at your piece and you see at a node the bottom is the bottom closed. That's what I'm looking to see now, Steve. If you see the ants, like here, the ants are running downhill. If at this node they change direction and we're running uphill, then that's definitely with the node where they're open. But I don't see that evidence, but we're going to check this one. I didn't join them because it looked like they were, and they're closed. So that's not it. So Control Z. So I don't see any evidence of where it's open. So another thing you can do, select the whole thing and say, do a 0 offset and delete the original, and then go back and look. And now you see close path is not an option anymore. So when you've got one, there are a ton of different reasons why you may see that. And there are a ton of different ways you can resolve it. And I didn't have to go through all the explanation and looking for things, but I was wanting to explain what I was looking for. But when I've got a problem like that, one of the first things I might do without even bothering to go and look about why is it doing this, Doesn't matter why it's doing it. If a 0 offset, fix it. Just select the whole thing, do a 0 offset, delete the original. Regardless of what the problem was, it's now solved. And that's what fixed this was the 0 offset. And anytime you've got a file or a problem piece in a file, 0 offset will fix probably 90% of them. Not always, but most of them. So now that I've got a 0 offset, I can go back to the offset tool, do an inward offset, 5 millimeters, and do not delete the original and say, okay. I'm going to, now I'm pretending that none of this is over here. So I'm going to duplicate that outer piece and set it over here to the side. Because that's my backboard. That's layer 1. It's done. That's all you needed for layer 1. Now for layer 2, which is this layer with all the intricate work of the roses, the butterfly, and here, these are the engraved lines I was talking about where I knew. So that was there just so I'd know where to paint. Something like that is totally optional if you're doing one. But now I need to set up my roses and my butterfly and all of that. And then this one is the top layer, which is just the butterfly. So for this particular butterfly, I went to my favorite source for SVGs because, like I said, I did this one really, really quick because I did not take the time to do the artwork myself. I went to Heart SVG, logged into my account, search for butterfly, and here's all these different possibilities. Bunches and bunches and bunches of possibilities. And I probably just went right by it and didn't even see it. I don't even see the one that I used. I'm blind as a bat, but that's okay. I like this, the Monarch, but you have to think, you have to look at all the problems or potential problems, like the antennae on these guys, like this. I think that's a Monarch. Beautiful butterfly, but the antennae in that SVG are so thin that that's going to be a problem when you go to cut it out. And I really don't see the butterfly that I used. But we're going to go with this guy. I think that guy right back up top there. Yeah, for these purposes, we'll go with this guy. You can download this and save it, but I'm a paid member for svgheart.com. Download is free, but I'm not going to bother downloading it. I'm just going to copy the image, go right back into Lightburn, right click, paste the image, right click, and left click, right click, trace the image, make sure I've got all the detail that I want and say, okay, there's the detail I want. Now I'm going to bring that butterfly down here and we will size it to where it's going to fit just, and actually we'll put it in the center. And now size scaled up to where I get a little bit of overlap on the wings. That's the size I'm going to use for my butterfly. Now I'm going to need, just like I need the outer perimeter of this backboard for all the pieces, for my second layer, I need just the outline of this butterfly. So I'm going to say Control D, duplicate it, set the butterfly over here for right now. Now I'm going to ungroup all the butterfly and get rid of everything that's not part of the outline. All right, I'm going to need that as well. So now that I've got my two pieces or two designs of the butterfly I need, set them to the side. And now I'll go back to my SVG. And here I wanted something floral. I wanted to have some roses or some flowers. So I just searched for a floral SVG, anything that had flowers in it. And here's a floral heart. Loading. All right. And we'll go with that one. Well, that's actually all one group. That's fine. Copy the image. We're going to do the same thing. Bring it over here. Paste it in place. Select it. Right click. Trace it. And then look at the detail on whichever piece that you're wanting to use. And I think I'm going to focus on this area right in here. And that looks good. Say okay. And now I'll ungroup that. I don't need any of that or any of that. And this, I don't need that heart shape because I'm not going to use the heart shape. I just want that floral pattern. I didn't want to do that. Let's group this. I'm going to put it on a toolpath. And then select all of it, deselect the toolpath. And group that heart back together for just a minute. And now I can size it up to where it takes up the whole piece. Position it to where I want it. Now I will ungroup my border. So now, and I'll put these on a black layer so you can see them better. But these are no longer grouped. They're individual pieces. And the way you need to think about this when you're going to try and put these roses in here or this floral pattern in here, what I have selected right now is a solid piece of wood that has no cutouts in it whatsoever. And now you want to subtract those hearts from that piece. So you've got that, and then you select your image. And if you're not really familiar with your Boolean tools, you can use your Boolean assistant up here under tools or Control B. And the Boolean assistant allows you to see a preview of what you're trying to accomplish without it being a permanent selection. So that's definitely not what you want. And is that what you want, or is that what you want? And see, those look very, very similar. And the difference between them would be what's left here. This is going to cut out. This is going to be a solid piece. And you'll see the flower is left there. But this one is going to cut out and have the holes of the flower there. So you have to really be able to see that and picture in your mind which one you want. But we wanted the A subtract B. Say okay. And you put that on the same layer and put it in the fill mode and you can see it. There you go. So have I lost anybody? No, we still got 100 people still here. All right. So y'all getting quiet on me there. Don't see a lot of comments, a lot of learning going on. So, all right. V-Rich says he's learned 2 things. All right. Good. And for those who are new to the channel, because we are at the early time slot, we got a lot of people hopefully that are in the Eastern Hemisphere watching. What I ask for folks to do is if you are learning anything, as you learn stuff, just put a number in the comments and let me know that, hey, I learned something. And that just lets YouTube know that y'all actually haven't fallen asleep. Yeah, Jason, I hear you taking it all in, but I need YouTube to know that you are here and that we are productive. All right. So now there is the image of a floral pattern, but now we need to get the butterfly in here. And we're going to do the same thing, more or less. But anytime you're designing, here it's a whole lot easier to see the results in fill mode, but it is easier to design in line mode. So now I'm going to take the butterfly and position them over here where I want them in the, actually I'll want to put him on a toolpath temporarily so I can see him a little better. Select the outer piece and tell him to go to center, horizontal or vertical center. All right, now he's centered up. And you know what? I'll put him actually in the center and see what he looks like. And that's kind of high up, but right now we are looking at an image that is a little over 12 inches tall. So depending on how big you wanted to make this and if you wanted to put an extra 2 inches down here at the bottom and make it a key holder, having him kind of up high like that actually is not a bad thing. All right, so now we need to actually group all of this together, all of the red layer. So to do that, easiest way, I can just select the entire thing, and because I put him on the blue path, it's easier to see. Hold my control button and right click, and that will deselect the butterfly. Group all that together. Now that that's all grouped, I put the butterfly back on the red layer. Go to my Boolean tools, the Boolean assistant, and you start to look and see which one you want. And that looks like that is the right outcome. That definitely is not. That definitely is not. That looks like it could be, but if you go in close enough and look, in fact, let's do this. I'm gonna hit cancel because for some of you who can't see the difference, I'm going to duplicate this and bring that down here, and we'll do one that way, and we'll do one the other way. Now they look very, very similar. You're like, well, they both have the void of the butterfly there, and they do, but one of them is truly a void, and one of them is a solid background. And if you're not sure which one, you put it in fill mode, and now you can see this is the result that you need. That's a solid wood background. That's a true void. And what you're looking for is something that you can glue this butterfly to. And since this one actually generated a void, that's not the shape or the outcome that you desired. So we can delete that one, put everything back in align mode. So there's layer one. Here's layer two. I'm going to duplicate layer one, Control D, send it to the center of the board. We need another 5mm inward offset, and we're not in millimeters, we're not in metric, so let's turn it to metric. Offset, okay, inward, yes, done. Now, because we did do a center location with that, I can select my outer and tell it to go to center. And now that's going to be exactly where that one went to. Now we just need to weld this to this, and we have our third layer. So we group that, select that. Now here, what you want to do though, you got to be careful because right now this butterfly is completely grouped. So if I take that grouped shape, and this is, there's, again, how many ways can you do something in Lightburn? One. There's many ways to accomplish this, but if this is grouped and this is grouped, If you select them both and tell it to weld, done. Simple, easy peasy. But if you didn't have them grouped, let's undo. If these were separate pieces, this piece by itself is a solid piece. And if you subtract this from that, that's not going to give you the outcome you want, because that's going to create a void in there. And you don't want a void here. You want this to be solid. Well, actually, that would work too. That would work. Because that's going to cut out and fall away. But that would work. Subtracting the butterfly from just the inner piece instead of welding the butterfly to the welded outer pieces. So there's always more than one way to accomplish it. Now you select all that and you group it. And now to see what that would look like. And this is something that a lot of people struggle with, is realizing or the priorities, how you stack your priorities in Lightburn. When you're designing, it is extremely useful for me, especially when you're doing multiple layers, to use those layers. Right now, I've got everything on the red layer, but I'm going to put each one of those layers on its own separate layer, and then I'll use their cut priority over in the side menu to stack them in the order that the physical piece would represent to see the outcome. So I'm going to put this one on this number 10 layer and put it in the fill mode. I will put this one as the top layer. I'll put it on the black layer and put it in fill mode. And this guy, we're going to just do a very, very light color and in a fill mode. So now I can select all of those and tell them to center up. And that's not the right priority because you don't see the black layer. I want the black layer to be on very top. So I'll come over here and select my black layer and change the priority, its position, to where now it's down here. Now that is what it would look like fully glued up. Told you it wasn't hard. And it didn't take but an extra 20 minutes of the live stream to do it. Any questions, any comments, any egg throwing? Jimmy Lee says, about time to say goodbye, but I'm finally getting here. Well, actually, you didn't miss out. You missed out on some, but you didn't miss out. You got to see the lesson on designing 3 layers. Okay. All right. Learning lots, have to watch replay as well. Yep. Replay is always a good thing. Well, Patrick, if you're still here, it was good to see you, my friend. Adding the reference lines. Know what you're talking about, Willis? No idea what you... Tell me what you're talking about, Big Papa, and if I can help you, I can help you. But I don't understand that question / comment, because that's a comment with question mark. Adding the reference lines. Stephen, I make it look easy because it is easy. If I can do it, trust me, it's easy. It really is. It's just a matter of recognizing the Boolean assistant was my best friend for a long time. Still is. I'll still use it. Especially when you're doing some complicated and stuff like that, welding different pieces and stuff, and you could, which one's right? Well, and then the Boolean assistant can help show you that, but in some of these designs, it's still kind of hard to see. But hopefully you've seen there, hey, when you're not really sure, duplicate it, do the different possible outcomes, and then put it in fill mode and take a look and see which one it is you actually wanted. But it is easy, and the more you do it, the easier it gets. For the paint, for the paint. Uh, it's always a good time learning with Steve. Thank you, Chicago Bob. Good to see you here. Off topic. Any idea when Rolly will release the larger laser? I heard it was supposed to be in spring, but then it's possible it's gotten pushed back to fall. I haven't heard an absolute concrete date. It was supposed to initially it was supposed to be spring, but someone commented the other day that they'd heard it got pushed back to early fall. But I don't know for sure. Big Papa says creating the reference lines to add the butterfly paint seems tricky. That is what is all right. Oh, okay. The reference lines, adding where to paint. Now I got you. No, Big Papa. It is not difficult. It's not tricky. It's extremely easy to do. All right. So I'm glad you asked that. Thank you. We got there. It took a minute for me and you get on the same page, but we got there. And it is something that is, if you're going to do painting, some folks have looked at this and said, hey, man, that'd look good done in acrylic. Well, yeah, it would look done good in acrylic, and it would look more like a true stained glass because you're going to lose all your dimensional, layered look. Because if you start filling in those pockets with different pieces of acrylic, it would look good, but it'd be a different look. So if you're going to do painting, having those reference marks to know where you needed to paint or stay away from is good, because switch over to Lightburn. For the most part, if we looked at, in fact, I think I can just select. And here's another tip. Right now, if I come down here and click on this part of the red flower, not the pink, but the red flower, you would think, okay, well, I've clicked on that red, and if I come over here and grab this middle node and move it around, hey, the red, that's the black. Well, what you have to realize is you're in fill mode. And when you're in fill mode, put that back. When you're in fill mode, no matter where you click on this piece right here, you're going to be clicking on that top layer if it's in fill mode. Because this technically is all filled, and the way Lightburn sees it, this entire, let me move it off to the side. This line right here is all filled in here with parts of it cut away. So if you're going to insist on working in fill mode, and now I want to select that red layer, the dark red layer, layer 10, then what you've got to do is bring it down in priority. And now when you click on that top layer, that's the red layer. So whatever your bottom layer is down here in fill mode, like right now, I'll select 23 and bring it down. It not only changes how you perceive it, now the black layer is literally behind that pink, so you can no longer see it. But when you select on it, you're selecting that layer. But if you go to line mode, put all those back on top of each other, change the priority back, and put them in line mode. Now, if I want to pick just that pink layer, I can select a line in that pink layer and move that one out of the way. You can't see the red layer because it's all red layer. And when you try and pick here in the middle, you can't pick anything. If you come over here and pick the only line that's on the red layer, because the black layer has priority, that's the layer you're going to pick. So Andy says, I always thought the first top layer was the top layer. Over here in your priorities, it's an inverted stack of pancakes. The one on the bottom list is the one that's on top of the stack. But whenever you send the job, and this is in when you're looking at it, in Lightburn, the layer that's on top, this is kind of crazy. The layer that's on top of the stack is the layer that's at the bottom of the list. But when you send that job to the laser, yes, this is the first layer, the first priority. This is the first job to get cut. Next job, next. It works its way down in the way of priority of cutting. So cut priority, it's on top if you have your priority set that way. But when you're viewing it, the layer that's at the bottom of the stack is the layer that's on top of the pancakes. And I'm going to, in fact, before I answer any of these other questions and comments, I'm going to go back and we're going to show you real quick how to do that, how to do the reference lines. So let's set this layer over here out the way. I'm going to duplicate. Well, actually, I'm not even going to bother duplicating. I'll just send these to center each other and the center screen. Now I'm going to ungroup the black layer. Actually, you know what? You don't even have to have them stacked because we've got everything centered over each other. I'm going to ungroup the black layer. And now when I select the butterfly, and you guys, this is elementary, and sometimes I think, I don't explain everything because I think, okay, well, they know this, but not everybody does. When you select from the left to the right, it will select only the things that you fully encompass. So since I went at midpoint there, I did not surround the entire arch or the window pane. It didn't pick up on the whole window pane. So just coming right here, it's only going to pick up those inner pieces of the butterfly. When you drag from the right to the left, it's going to pick up whatever you touch. So here I'm not touching the entire arch. Here I'm just going to just those, but it gets it all. But from left to right, now I've got just those inner pieces of the butterfly. So to create those paint lines, what I did was selected those just like that, then come over here to the offset tool. And then I did just a 1 millimeter offset outward. Select the resulting objects and say okay. And now with those selected, hold my shift key, select that and tell it to go to center. And there they are. That's going to be everything that needed to be painted. If you stay within those lines, you'll be all right. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those on a purple and in a fill mode. And I'm doing that so that when I do this and put this back in fill, group it all again, and we'll put the pink layer back in fill. Now when I send that back on top, not sure why I'm not perfectly lined up. Something's off just a little bit on my alignment, but that's how I created them. So again, not difficult, not hard, but when I did that offset, I did a millimeter outward. That way I'm not having to worry about painting right up to the line and or missing something. I can go a millimeter past it because those lines on that butterfly are going to be, thicker than a millimeter, and I'll have that all covered. So even if it's, it'll be everything that needs to be painted will be painted, and there won't be any unpainted areas. The extra painted area will be covered by the butterfly. All right. So great. Big Papa says that was super simple. And he's got at least 6 things learned today. So good. Guys, we are at the 2-hour mark. So I think we've covered a lot. We've learned a lot. Has anybody got any questions about any of this stuff? My brain's still not fully engaged because it did not, the variable text thing never, about why getting one. I know how to do it because I do it. I just ain't doing it today, and the brain ain't here. 102 of you still here after 2 hours. Thank you. Thank you all so very, very much. I have not looked at the likes and shares, but that just as important as y'all commenting about how many things you guys have learned in the comment section, the likes and the shares also help with the analytics. As I said, I'm no longer doing the hey, thanks for the super thanks, not asking for those. They're always appreciated when somebody gets a wild hair and does it. But I make no mistake. There was a troll that commented somewhere about they got tired of listening to me always promoting Hobo with Wood. Well, guys, this is my job. I'm promoting Hobo with Wood and hobowithwood.com because I want to sell you something. Make no mistake, I want to sell you a file. But if I can teach you how to make your file yourself, that's great too. I'm happy with teaching you how to do this. You can go make your own window pane now. You don't need to buy my file. But because it is so simple, that's why I've got it on there, I think, for like $3.95 or $3.49. It's only on there for a few bucks. Because it is so simple, you can do it pretty quickly yourself. But is it worth $3 of your time to go do it when you can just go download it and be done with it? You might, but for those other files, like the Bear is on sale for half price right now. But when the half price sale goes off, it's going to be probably I think it's $13 or a $14 file. There's a lot of work that went into designing that and setting up the getting all the spacing right. And so there's a lot of time in it. But make no mistake, I want to sell you something. But showing you how simple it was to do that 3-layer file and showing you how easy it was to create those spacers when you needed to make something, create extra voids where you needed it. I'm showing you everything you need to know to create everything that I want to sell you. It just comes down to what is your time worth? Yes, you can go do it yourself. And there is some great pride, especially if you want to do things like, I want to do something with the pre-K, or I want to do this. When you want to make it more unique and make it personal, make it fit your needs, I'm trying to share you the information you need to do that. But make no mistake, I'm promoting Hobo with Wood and hobowithwood.com. And the only way that I can continue to do that is with the support of my patrons. The super thanks and all, those are great. And they do buy me a biscuit once in a while, but they don't pay the bills. The patrons are what keep this channel going, and they are greatly appreciated. And if you guys haven't noticed, I have had a very serious uptick in the amount of stuff that I'm putting out and promoting. And I'm trying to maintain this schedule of Tuesdays and Thursdays with different design videos, how-to videos, and or just entertaining videos. And then Saturday, a live stream every other Saturday, one at 3 Eastern and one at 9 Eastern, so that we can appeal to the Eastern Hemisphere and the Western Hemisphere. And everybody's going to have fun. We're going to learn something, and I might sell a file. So hobowithwood.com, hobowithwood.com, hobowithwood.com. And for those that do want to be a supporter and appreciate what's going on here, patreon.com/hobowithwood. And is there any other questions? Question from Richard. Are these designs, are these designs and settings done with the MK230 watt? Yes, but do not open one of my files and just send it to the job without checking your power, speed, and settings. Because the way Lightburn works, if I've designed this file and I'm tweaking it, and sometimes you might even see, if you see one of my files and there's at the end of the file it's V3, that's version 3. Well, and sometimes there's like on the clutches and the handbags, they'll go up to V15. They'll morph and morph and morph. And the way that Lightburn works, I think when you open up a file, if you've got a red layer in that file. Well, the settings, sometimes they come in from the file that was saved, but then sometimes they were from the previous thing you were doing with that layer. And so they're not always going to be 100% correct. You need to, before you send the job, you need to do two things on any file. If it's got slots and tabs in it, if you've done any resizing of the original file size, even if you haven't resized the file size, slots and tabs, make sure slots and tabs are for your material thickness. And then make sure that the speed and power settings are for your laser. But don't count on them being correct from me or anybody else, because you could end up wasting a ton of time and a lot of material because you were counting on somebody else's speed and power settings. So make sure they're right. But short answer, yes, I designed them with the 30 watt, saved them with the 30 watt, but double check your speeds and power. Yeah, Chicago Bob says go gold. If you're going to do the Patreon thing, the gold is the best deal if you like my files. And that's the other thing. You may not care anything about a butterfly stained glass window because you can't stand butterflies. They're caterpillars with legs and worms and wings, and they're just food for birds. And you don't care anything about looking at a stained glass file. But if you like that Lightburn file or that Lighthouse file, now you know how to go get you a Lighthouse file and create your own stained glass window. So you don't need to buy my files. So my files may not appeal to you. But if they do, if you like what's out there, the $20 a month for the Gold Patreon is a deal. That, like I said, the bear alone is going to be $12 or $13. So it's definitely worth the money if it's in your budget. Let's see here. The Brain. Oh, I love the name. Hello, The Brain. I've purchased a few individual files that equal more than the Patreon Gold. I'll be signing up for Gold Patreon. Well worth it. Well, thank you, Brain. It really is the best deal going. I've always download file, then open in Lightburn, and then make adjustments and save file before using it. There you go. That's another good tip. Thank you, Dale. So I said 2 things you need to do before sending a job. Make it 3 things. I like Dale's last one there. Check your slots and tabs, check your speed and power settings. Then once you know it's right for you, save it. Then that way, next time you open it, you don't have to go check it again. Good heads up, Dale. Real good. All right. So, well, Dale says, even as a gold patron, sometimes it feels like I'm stealing. Well, you can always go. You can always be the first. Dale, you can always be the first platinum patron. The platinum patron is $5,000 a month, and I'm waiting for that first person to sign up, and then the second person to be even better. But hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. I wouldn't put it out there if I did not feel like it was worth it to me to have you as a gold patron. And like I said, even though I'm putting tons of files out there, every month, all of those may not appeal to you. And there are files that I share with my patrons on patreon.com that I don't share with everybody. And that brings up something that I meant to talk about. And boy, I hope some of my patrons are still here that are struggling. I did a whole video that was available for my patrons to see for people who are struggling with using Patreon. But the problem is, if they can't see Patreon, they can't get logged in. Well, then they can't see that video. So we're 2 hours, 20 minutes. I will have to do another video that I'll post to general YouTube to help folks understand how to use the Patreon. I'll have to do that. I'll probably do that tomorrow. So for you guys, when you see that, understand that and I'll even put a disclaimer there, that is not a video trying to drum up support for Patreon, but to help those who are already on Patreon know how to navigate around it. I meant to do that in this one, but we've gone too far too long. So guys, if I told you I was going to tell you about it, I will, but in hopefully probably a video tomorrow. Richard says, if I really like a file, I usually do not use my coupon code. Well, hey, there's always an option. Dale, if you feel like you're stealing, yeah, Richard says, hey, you don't have to use your coupon code. And Dale says, if I was independently wealthy, I might. All right. Guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to tell you all, thank you again. Thank you for your support. Like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell so you don't miss out anything, because I will be doing an impromptu live this week with those leather flask. Don't know when, but it'll be, because I got to get them knocked out quick and get them in John's hands so we can get them in the store so we can sell more flasks. But I'm going to do an impromptu live doing that. So if you have hit that notification bell, then gone up and selected all notifications, you should see a notification when I post it that I'm going to go live. So until the next time, I am Steve, Hobo with Wood, and I'm going to do, as usual, I'm going to go up here, and you might even be able to hear me click with the mouse telling it to end stream.